Yesterday, everyone was waiting for President Trump to sign the latest stimulus bill. That stimulus bill was about a $900 billion stimulus bill that had been approved by both the House and the Senate late Monday night. That bill would include $600 stimulus checks for those people on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and VA benefits, and anyone else that received the first stimulus check. It left out those that are adult dependents that did not get the first stimulus check, but it included most everyone that got the first stimulus check. While everyone expected President Trump to sign off on this deal and make it into a law so that stimulus checks could go out as early as next week, President Trump did not do so. And as the day went along, people started to wonder why he wasn't signing it. Well, last night, President Trump posted a video on Twitter explaining why he hadn't signed it and why he was not planning on signing it and possibly even vetoing this bill. We're going to talk about what he talked about, including the fact that he called for $2,000 stimulus checks for individuals. But I'm also going to talk about where we go from here. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you so much for watching. My name is Justin. I do stimulus check updates, talk about Social Security benefits, and teach you how to make money and save money. So if any of those topics interest you, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload a new video. And if you find this content helpful, please hit the like button so that YouTube will share this video with others like you. So yesterday, all that was left was for President Trump to sign the bill and everyone would be receiving $600 stimulus checks. Many people have been upset that the stimulus checks were only $600 this time, as opposed to the $1,200 from the first stimulus check. And apparently President Trump is one of those people. So I want to show some of this video of him talking about this stimulus deal and why he was upset about it and why he seemed like he was kind of blindsided by some of the provisions in it. So I'm going to show that video now.
Then a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment, $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business. $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, a provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research the impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Okay, so there was a lot to go over in what he just said, but the gist of it is he was upset that there was so much wasteful spending in this bill while only giving $600 stimulus checks to the American people. And while I've said kind of, recently that $600 is better than nothing, I do agree with him that $600 with all of the other extra spending that was in this bill was not really a great deal for the American people. $900 billion for the total price tag, while only $167 billion of that was going towards stimulus checks. So President Trump basically said, hey, if we're going to do this, let's give $2,000 stimulus checks to individuals and $4,000 stimulus checks to couples. So after he posted this video, everyone was kind of shocked and just couldn't even believe what had just happened because most people were expecting him to sign this bill. Even some of the aides that are really close to him and deal with him probably on a daily basis were surprised that he posted this video, and he kind of kept it really close to the vest from what I have read. The Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and a lot of the other Democrats, responded to President Trump's video by saying, okay, we're on board. Let's get this $2,000 stimulus check done. We could do it this week. The question now becomes, what does Mitch McConnell and the Republicans do? Now, Mitch McConnell has previously been very hesitant to push a bill anything more than $1 trillion. While adding $2,000 stimulus checks to this bill without changing anything else, which I don't think that's what President Trump is asking for, but adding $2,000 stimulus bills, it's kind of what Nancy Pelosi is asking for. Adding this $2,000 stimulus check on top of what's already in this bill would push it well over that $1 trillion mark. So Congress has a few options at this point. They can, if President Trump actually vetoes this bill, which he kind of threatened to do so, but he hasn't yet, is Congress, if they have enough votes, they could override that veto and basically push the bill through without President Trump's approval. That would mean $600 stimulus checks to individuals. The question becomes, though, do the Republicans, some of them, side with President Trump and say, you know what, he's right, this is actually too much spending for only $600 stimulus checks? Do some of the Republicans basically go along with President Trump and say, okay, let's not do this bill after all, even though I voted for it previously. Let's work on something else that's going to get more money to the American people. At this point, it's kind of Mitch McConnell who's going to now say, okay, let's change it to $2,000 stimulus checks. But if they start changing the bill as it's written now, and I think this is kind of what President Trump is asking for, if they do start changing this bill as it's written now, then they will need to re-vote on the bill and redo all the language of this bill. That can take time. And so that's where I'm a little concerned about stimulus checks coming before the end of the year. If they have to change the wording of this bill and take out provisions and everything else, they'll have to re-vote in the House, re-vote in the Senate, and have everyone agree to it. This bill, as it stood, was over 5,500 pages long. And as President Trump said, nobody really read all the way through this bill. There is still a chance that President Trump could have a change of heart and just pass this bill as it stands and basically say, well, it's going to be too late to make all these changes before the end of the year, and basically he could just say, okay, well, I don't love it. It still is giving $600 stimulus checks, and he could still sign it. So if Mitch McConnell gets on board and just basically says, okay, let's change this to $2,000 stimulus checks, I think a lot of the Republicans would jump on board as well, and they could pass this with the small change of $2,000 stimulus checks. As President Trump said, if they can't get more stimulus checks or a bigger amount for the American people and less wasteful spending, as he called it, then they may have to wait for the next administration, that they would have to then handle the next stimulus deal. So now I'm really curious to see what Mitch McConnell says about this and how he responds and how kind of the rest of Congress responds. I think they were all completely shocked last night when President Trump did this video and basically said, yeah, no, I'm not signing this as it stands, and I may just completely veto it. So anyway, today we got to see what Congress says, what Mitch McConnell says, and what some of the Republicans say in response to President Trump's video. But the good news is President Trump is pushing for bigger stimulus checks. The bad news is we will have to wait longer, which I mean, it's so ridiculous how long we've waited at this point that if it means stimulus checks closer to $2,000, I think most people would agree that it's probably worth a little bit longer of a wait. I mean, if we're talking about months and months again, then that's when I was kind of saying that the $600 stimulus checks is better than nothing, because we have been waiting for so long. And that deal was essentially done. All it needed was President Trump's approval. Anyway, that's where we stand right now. I will continue to keep you up to date on all the latest stimulus news. And thank you once again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon.